Okay, folks, it's talking about doing some shooting tips, stuff like that, along the lines of anything related to this to help you shoot better in the field, on game, and get your rifle ready and set up quicker, with less expense, less ammo used. This is a rifle that I put together not too long ago. I only shot it a little bit at 100 yards, so we got some loads in the box here that we're going to take out to 500-ish yards and see how it's performing at 500. And one of the things that I've seen some people that I would have never guessed would do this, very experienced people that were doing this. They're shooting at 500, 600, whatever that might be, even further if they plan on going further with that particular rifle. And they shoot and they're on the steel plate. Okay, you kind of got to use steel plates at distance, otherwise you don't even know if you're hitting or not. So we're just do that to start with. Don't be using paper. They're on the steel plate, but they're not centered up, and they go to chase that and try to get centered up. Now, the problem with that is, if you're on the plate, just shoot a group. Like with this, in the case of this rifle, it's unproven. I have not shot it at distance. I don't know how well it groups. Just because it groups pretty good at 100 doesn't necessarily mean it's going to group good at distance. There are a lot of different things that come into play there. And you are far better off just shooting a group at distance and not worrying about it being centered up, because if it's shooting quite large and you go to center up, whether it's left, right, up or down, and those extremely large groups could be causing you to actually start shooting off the plate. You can't assume it's shooting good. You need to take the time to just shoot groups. You're going to need to shoot more than one, but one bad one, if it's really bad, will tell you that you kind of need to move on, because that's not what you want to do. You need to try something different. So when you do that, then you can actually see how good it groups. After you've got a good feel for how good it groups, a couple of groups out there, yeah, you can start centering it up, because you want to clean up your dope, make sure your up and down is good. And even if you're off on the wind call, it gives you that's a learning opportunity. I've told people every shot you fire is an opportunity to learn. So you'll just learn from that shot. It's not a big deal, or shots, that you're not perfectly on for the win. You learn from that, and hopefully over time you get closer and closer as far as wind goes. And obviously at the ranges you plan on hunting, you better be pretty spot on eventually, or you shouldn't be shooting that far. So that's one of the things that we're going to do in this video. We're going to take this to the range. We're going to shoot it on the steel. It's right around 500 yards, and we'll see what we get with it. I've got a couple loads to try, and hopefully one or maybe both work really good, and then it's a matter of just whichever one I want to use. Another tip I want to bring up is, it's in this book, the information that's in this book. This is a, RCBS, loading manual from 1994 is when it was published. Now there's some time back, a couple years ago or something like that, Eric Cortines, everyone knows him as the world champion F-class shooter, is talking about sizing your brass so you got 2 thou headspace clearance. And, a bunch of people on the internet are freaking out, posting videos, no, you gotta do it this way, you're wrong, and all that, and then people are discovering, no, it works really well. Well, it's in this book. Okay, I got it bookmarked right here to show you. I don't know if I'll be able to get it close enough in the camera right there, but it's in this book, and it's on page 86. I don't think it got close enough for you to see it in the camera, but page 86, like I said, it was published in 1994. It's Spear Reloading Manual number 12, resizing cases for maximum accuracy and case life. and they talk about their particular tool for measuring the cases and doing this, and then they talk about, you know, you want a custom fit to your chamber and you want 2 thou clearance. It was in this book, but you don't have to, you know, find, this stuff is available. You need to read the book. Read these books. These companies put a ton of money into all the research and development to get you this information. Read the book. Don't listen to you know, Billy, Bob, and Daryl. You know, read the book. Billy, Bob, and Daryl could be wrong. You know, don't absolutely listen to me. Read these books. There's a lot of really good information in there. It tells you to do the same thing with a belted magnum case. You know, I've never had any problems with belted magnum cases either, because I sized them that way right out of the gate. This is the first loading manual I bought when I started loading. I bought it in 1996, I believe. And I read it front to back. And I started sizing my brass that way, fit, you know, with 2 thou clearance, fitting them basically to the chamber of that gun. And I've never had any problems with belted magnum cases either. That's a subject for another video on how ridiculous I think a lot of the stuff is that people will talk about with belted magnums, and how there's so much trouble with loading them or all that stuff. I've put 14, 18 loadings on belted magnum cases. It's really no different after the first firing than anything else. Okay, now done with those 2 tips for now. We'll get to some other stuff here and there down the road. And just so you have an idea of my background in this, so that you don't think that it's just some, you know, guy saying stuff without any experience or knowledge on it. I work for a gun company, and I do all the load development for their line of factory ammo, and I also make all their barrels. This barrel on this gun is one that I made. Hopefully it's shooting good, or it'd be a bad example of my barrel making. And I build full guns. This is a full gun. I do that on the side. For them, I just make barrels and do ammo loading and testing, and I do a lot of shooting at work and testing. But yeah, built the whole gun, made the stock and all that. I do have a little cheekerizer on it, which, if you were wondering why I would do that if I made the stock, well, it's because I got a really good deal on this scope. I didn't plan on a scope quite this big on it, but it's what's on it. So I had to do that because that was an afterthought. So enough with all that. Let's get to the shooting. I'll see you out at the range. really glad this load shot the way it did, because as I mentioned, we talked about this, don't make any adjustments until you've shot a group if you're on steel at distance when you're ringing out your loads. You know, for that particular gun, or it's a new gun and all that stuff. Now, when I did that, as you've seen in the footage from the range, you know, I had a hit, let me get this up right, I had a hit right here to start with, and now if I'd have adjusted right then and chased that to try and get to the center, my next rounds hit down here. Now I had some hitting here, but because I had some this low, if I'd have this, then I'd have shot under it. I'd shot completely under, and I wouldn't know how big it's really grouping. That particular load grouped about 1 inch at 100 yards, but as you can see, it's opened up at 510 yards to about 1.7 MOA, and this is not acceptable for the intended use of this gun. So we'll not be using that load. And that's an important thing to keep in mind when you're testing this stuff, you know, and moving through all that, is to really ring them out at distance if you plan on shooting that far at anything. Just got back from the range shooting the second test load in the 6 Creedmoor. It's a 90 grain ELDX. First load was a 58 grain VMAX load. As you've seen in the range clip just previous to this, it shot extremely well. I brought the target in with me. So right there's the 3 shots. It's about a 1 inch group, and that was at 500 yards. I only shot 3 shots because I had to go midday and it was hotter heck out. So I didn't really want to get the barrel too screaming hot in these conditions. Yeah, 5 shots are better and all that. I definitely agree with that too. But you can get by with 3 shots if you just do more groups. I don't believe this thing is gonna, every time I go out, shoot 1 inch groups at 500 yards. I would like it to hang around a half minute. Like I said, the VMAX load, like I said earlier in the video, the VMAX load was shooting about 1 inch. I was gonna call that acceptable if it would maintain that at distance. I would really like it tighter than that. I tend to use it for coyote calling. 500 yards would be about the max I would shoot, you know, on the coyote. Seeing that that's kind of where I was shooting at because of that. So I will, with the 3 shot groups, when you're shooting them, you do need to track point of impact shift and stuff like that. I will go over that in another video. We'll take the 223 out and we'll shoot some groups, you know, get one of those square paper targets that have the 5 aiming dots on them. And then we can shoot a group on each one of them. I think that if you shoot 5 3-shot groups, it'll give you a real reasonable indication of what's going on. You're going to get some point of impact shift, and you need to see how much. Some loads will shift more than others, and that could be what I'm seeing this VMAX load. I only shot 2 groups at 100 with it, and then one were 8 to 5. There might have been quite a bit of point of impact shift there, that I didn't actually shoot enough groups to see, and that's why it shot so big at distance. Because if you look, it was kind of like it was double grouping. It shot one high at first, and it shot a bunch low, but it shot some in the middle. So with a separation between the tops and the bottom. So it could have just been double grouping that we'd have caught, or not double grouping, but had a really big point of impact shift. We would have found that if I'd have shot more groups than 100. But sometimes I just jump right to, 400 or 500 and see what's going to happen, instead of continuing to shoot at 100. So it can ring stuff out pretty fast, because if it goes poorly at 5, no point in shooting more at 100. So it looks like it's doing really well with this load. We'll shoot it more to make sure. I'll shoot it at 3 and 5, and then we'll have a really good idea what it's doing for this coming coyote season. After big game hunting this fall, we can take it out and start calling coyotes, and hopefully call a bunch in and try it out. Okay, thanks for watching the video. Like and subscribe.